Have you ever overheard a customer look at a menu and then let out a gasp and say, wow, that's expensive? Or maybe you've walked past a table and overheard a group of guests talking about the last time they were at your restaurant, prices were much lower. And this may be the case even though your margins are thin, even though food costs for you have risen substantially, even when you might be barely covering the costs of labor. So, why do customers always think that your prices are too high, even when they're not? The answer lies in price perception and customer psychology. In today's video, we're going to talk about a topic that's very frustrating to most small restaurant owners. We're going to talk about why customers perceive restaurant prices as being too high, how comparison bias distorts value perception, how inflation has changed spending psychology, and what you can do to clarify value. Let's get into the video. Okay, the first reason why customers sometimes get sticker shock is because they're comparing you to the wrong thing. When a diner looks at your $18 entree, they're not comparing it to your rent. They don't care about your payroll. They don't see the bills for your utilities, your insurance, your food cost percentage. They're only comparing it to grocery store prices or maybe cheaper fast food combos or what they paid 3 years ago, or maybe some vague memory of what eating out at a restaurant used to cost. That's not a fair comparison, but it's a real one that diners make every single time they come in your restaurant. Now, the second factor at play here is what we call the anchoring effect. Psychology plays a major role in how people perceive prices. If someone recently saw, let's say, a $7 fast food meal, or maybe a $12 lunch special from a larger chain, or maybe a deeply discounted chain promotion that's running nationwide, that becomes their mental anchor for pricing. Your $18 entree now feels expensive to them, even when it's properly priced according to the market. Anchoring shapes perception a lot more than logic does. Now, inflation has definitely created sticker shock for most consumers. See, during periods of inflation, price increases feel personal to people. They feel like they're being cheated out of their hard earned money. Remember, salaries generally are not going up. However, prices are continuing to rise. Even when customers mentally know and understand that labor costs are higher, food costs are volatile, supply chains are unstable, remember that emotion overrides logical reasoning. They're not thinking in their minds, yeah, I understand the cost structure. Their emotions are telling them, why does this cost so much now? Or maybe I paid a lower price before. Why is the restaurant owner raising the prices to these types of levels? When people are constantly exposed to inflation, they start to get inflation fatigue. And that in turn makes people sensitive to price signals, even reasonable ones. It's important to remember that people are being exposed to inflation every single day. They're tired of it, they're fatigued by it, and that makes them sensitive to any type of price increase, even a reasonable increase in your restaurant. Now, part of the problem is that restaurants undercommunicate value. And here's kind of an uncomfortable truth. A lot of times prices feel higher because the value that they give is not visible to the diner. If the menu says grilled chicken, $19, that feels a lot different from saying herb marinated chicken with charred lemon and roasted garlic juice, $19. Same dish, but different perception, different mental picture of value. And the ambiance matters as well. If the atmosphere, the service, the presentation don't reinforce the price point, then the number feels a lot heavier and less justified in the minds of customers. Experience must match expectations. Now, another point is that price without the proper mental context or mental framing feels a lot higher to people. See, people rarely think in terms of contribution margins or fixed costs or labor to sales ratios. They just don't care. They think in terms of total spend. So, for example, $72 for dinner might sound high, but when you break it down per person with the experience included, it may be quite reasonable given market pricing. The challenge is that when restaurants don't provide enough context through, say, storytelling, presentation, atmosphere, maybe quality cues, then the number that the diner is paying stands alone. It stands by itself. And alone, numbers feel larger when they're presented at the final check. Now, another problem is that social media and advertising and marketing by large chains is beginning to distort price perception for customers. See, customers are constantly seeing things like viral budget meals or extreme discounts or fast food value hacks or influencer promotions. They're exposed to this several times every single day. And these create unrealistic baselines to compare pricing against. Independent restaurants cannot compete with mass scale discounting by larger chains. And to be honest, they shouldn't even try. You should not be trying to compete on price. And competing on price also attracts the wrong customer. It attracts people who only care about pricing. They're not loyal, they don't care about your brand, they just want to see the number at the bottom of the check. Okay, so let's be clear. A lot of independent restaurants are not overpriced. Margins are often thinner than people realize. Food costs have risen sharply. Labor is now a lot more expensive. Rent has increased. Utilities have increased. Insurance has increased. A lot of independent restaurant owners like you are simply passing the necessary cost adjustments through to the end customer, which all companies do. But of course, they don't tell people that. The perception gap does not mean that your pricing is wrong. It just means that in many cases, your communication is just incomplete. Okay, let's talk about what to do about this perception phenomenon. So instead of lowering prices immediately, here are some things to consider. Number one, try strengthening value cues, things like plating, lighting, menu descriptions, staff explanations. These things give clues as to what the customer can expect in terms of pricing. Number two, clarify your positioning. Are you a premium brand? Are you elevated casual? Or maybe you're fast comfort? If you're positioned clearly, then pricing feels aligned with your value proposition for your restaurant. Number three, you want to start thinking about removing weak items. So you want to start targeting low margin, low value dishes that create price sensitivity. Uh, think about simplifying what's on the menu so that your pricing feels aligned throughout your entire menu structure. So, if we take a step back here, people don't evaluate prices in isolation. They evaluate it through comparison, memory, context, and emotion. When customers say that your prices are high or your prices feel high, it doesn't automatically mean that that's true. It just means that their perception needs a little bit of alignment or, in some cases, correction. In the post pandemic economy, it's important to remember that just having good food is not good enough anymore. And if no one walks through the front door of your restaurant, nothing else matters. I'm Donovan Garrett. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.